we previewed this game on Monday, and we've talked about the generalities of it. We've gone into some specifics, but when you look at this Georgia team and you've seen the good ones, you've seen the okay ones, and you've seen the bad ones. With this matchup going into this Texas game and then into the playoff, because you guys are in, regardless, I think, what does Georgia need to show you for you to say, you know what? I think this team could make it 3 out of the last 4.
Man, I don't know that I've covered a team like this one. This is unique in a lot of ways. And, I was just going back. I watched some of the tape of the Texas game, the October game last night, and made some notes. Carson Beck was 23 of 41, no touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and they beat Texas by 2 touchdowns on the road. Defensively, they absolutely dominated Texas. I mean, the 2 tackles had as bad a game as you possibly can have. And those 2 guys at Texas are projected first rounders. That they have got to bring their A game. They want to get some of Georgia because that tape is really questionable for them. Texas only averaged 1.1 yard a carry on 27 carries. Georgia stoned them. I don't know if Georgia can do that again. They had 7 sacks, 10 tackles for a loss. They scored on short, turnovers, short fields. Trevor Etienne had 3 touchdowns that game. He's most likely not going to play. Their backs are against the wall right here. They're beat up. Nobody cares. I've said that all week. I mean, Georgia they're pretty physically beat up. This is a massive game if they have late January goals, because I don't know they can run a table with an extra game and not having a bye week at all and going straight into playoff preparation. They're dangerous, man. This Georgia team is I'll say this, and let me explain this. Georgia's the most dangerous team in the country. Nobody wants to play Georgia because that 85-man roster. Yeah. They're capable of choking you out like they did Texas. They're also capable of getting their tail whipped like they did against Ole Miss. They went to 8 overtimes the other night in a physical game against Georgia Tech. It's just been hot and cold. They haven't played a clean game yet. That's the one thing I want to see out of Georgia. What's the real potential of this team? Can they play a clean game on both sides of the ball? Is this the most talented team Georgia's had? It's not. They've got some really good players, but this is not as talented as 21 and 22, especially at wide receiver and up front with the game wreckers on defensive line.
Yeah, a couple quick things here, and I kick it over to DC. You talk about Georgia being beat up. Texas, starting left tackle. Banks was in a boot on the sideline last week. Goolsby came in, was okay. You mentioned the tackle struggling. Do you have an update on whether you think Banks is going to play? He's going to be beat up if he does play. And then my second part, you brought up the way the game went last time. We talked about it. If you're Mike Bobo in this Georgia offense, is this the waiting game? Is it let's see if we can just not turn the ball over and dribble the shot clock out and let our defense win it and score in the end when we have to?
I think Georgia probably figured out early on they're not going to have to win a shootout that night. And I think Kirby Smart, that is kind of his MO. He will choke it out now. If he knows he's in a game and you cannot defensively, if you can't take an offensive team and run away from him, he will keep that thing as close as possible and try to win it in the fourth quarter. I think Georgia, after a couple of series, probably felt pretty good and was like, wait a minute, our game plan here, we kind of like our matchup, and they got Ewers rattled a little bit early and turned the ball over a little bit. I'll tell you this, and I'm very confident in this. You're going to see a lot of Arch Manning. You're going to see a lot of the run game. You're going to see, especially in the red zone. Quinn had some turnovers last week against Texas A&M in the red zone. If I'm Texas, man, we get to the 20, you're going to see Arch Manning, because I'm going to bring his legs and I'm going to bring that run game. After what Haynes King has done to Georgia, the issues they've had with Jalen Milroe, for whatever reason, that's the problem with Georgia right now, is dual threat guy that can get out on the edge on you. So, they didn't really use Arch Manning at all that first game he came in. I know people have the picture, and he did like a deer in headlights, but he's not a deer in headlights anymore. I can promise you that. This is an ultra talented kid, and his run game is. If I'm Georgia and Glenn Schumann, those guys, that makes me nervous this week.
Yeah, David Cohn, what a world we live in. One of the Manning quarterbacks is a threat to run.
Like his grandpa, not like his uncle.
That's like, hey man, that Hawking kid,
like his
stupid,
namesake,
but he sure can run fast.
Archie. There you go, like his namesake. Rusty, 2 questions. I went back and rewatched the October game yesterday as well. The defensive play calling performance, even more than just the athletes on the field, the play calling performance was as incredible the second time around as it was the first. I'm not sure that it is repeatable. I don't think we're going to see a scenario here where Steve Sarkisian, with his offensive mind, that he's pulling Quinn Ewers out of a game because he looks like a deer in headlights. Am I wrong? Can Georgia really jump out and do what they did in the first game, or is this game more of a one-possession variety?
I don't know that Georgia can do 7 sacks and 10 tackles for a loss. I mean, Sark's too good offensively, man. I think Georgia really hurt them with what they showed them up front. They confused them. They had a really good feel. Here's the one thing about Georgia. If they know where your quarterback's going to be, they're going to get after your ass. I mean, sorry for that term, but they're going to get after you. If they know where you are, and that was the way with Nick Saban all those years, Kirby Smart, with those philosophy. If they know where that quarterback is, they're going to come get you. And as Ewers is his ankle banged up a little bit. He looked pretty good to me last week. Maybe not 100%, but enough not to be a statue there. So I think quick game. I think they're going to work quick game. I think if you watch the Ole Miss tape and how much they work the inside of the field with their tight ends and their backs on Georgia's linebackers, I think you're going to see a lot more inside the middle of the field. I think they tried to take some chunk shots. I think they tried to work the one-on-ones with the Georgia corners. I think, my opinion, if I'm Sark, I'm watching that Ole Miss tape, and I'm going to work inside those hashes on Georgia and see if these linebackers can cover my running backs and my slot guys.
What's up, YouTube? Almost to 160,000 subs. You could be the one to get us over that hump, and wouldn't that be a great feeling for everybody involved? Make sure you hit that subscribe button.